What is going on, YouTube? This is Blaze back again for the last part of the Desolate Tomb boss guide, and where we're going to be discussing the final boss guide, which is the Lord of the Flames. Quite the intimidating looking enemy right there, but believe it or not, this boss is very much a joke. And it's a little bit of quite the explaining to do, but I'm going to see if I can get all of it or as much as I can to make everything clear. And believe it or not, like, trust me, once you learn the mechanics for this boss, you're practically going to be saying, wow, this boss is like legit a joke. Because it really is. Okay, important information before starting the boss. And this is something you must do on every party. Like, this has to be done. Rolls. At least 4 people in your party has to have a roll, and the 2 remaining people are gonna have like backups. So that's pretty much how it works. The 4 rows go by the marker number 2, 3-3, and 3-9. Those are the roles you have to have. 4 people in the party at least have to have it. I will be explaining that as soon as like the mechanics come in, which that begins at 70% and 30% on normal. And those are the only 2 times you're going to get them in normal. Obviously in hard mode, it's going to be 90, 60, and 30, which is how it was before. But you get the idea. It's basically the same thing. You do the same thing. And it's all the same. All right. Important information is gone with that. There's also something else that you don't have to do, but this is something to think about if you are actually gonna try to aggro the boss first, is what I meant to say. Okay, I'm just gonna start it right now. As you can see, I'm gonna be the engager of this fight. Eventually, there we go. So this is gonna come into play in a little bit. So pretty much what you're just gonna do is, well, first off, let me just pause right here. This boss has a similar moveset as the Inferno Lord. So a bunch of like half circle strikes. It does a half circle, the swoop that hits behind it. Another thing you're gonna notice is what just happened right there was it was gonna do a full circle attack. You can actually CC him during those full circle attacks. Okay, half circle. Now it's gonna do the leap. I don't know if it's going to do it at this exact moment, but this is where being the first 3 people to aggro the boss at the start of the fight comes into play. The boss is going to jump, usually to the furthest player. Now the boss is going to do a ground pound attack, which it's going to ground pound and then pretty much give this aura with a timer onto the first 3 players that aggroed it. Since I was the first one, I obviously take the first aura. This is called the time bomb, because as you can see, there's a timer going down. Pretty much what you want to do is not be near the middle of the arena. Obviously, you don't want that. And be sure to take like some of the edges of the arena so you don't get like other players involved with what's going to happen. So obviously, back off. As soon as the timer hits 1, you're going to SS or iframe. I prefer to SS or backdash since it kind of feels more natural to do that, as you're going to see right now. When the timer goes up, it blows up. That's why it's called the time bomb. But this step is not over yet. As soon as like the time bomb explodes, the boss is going to launch a lava puddle at the exact location you were standing. Obviously, you don't want to touch the lava puddle. And then pretty much it's going to do it to the other 3. And immediately after he does the 3rd lava puddle to the 3rd player, the boss is going to do a roar. So that's your chance to iframe it. You can't CC, all you can do is iframe it. There's the roar. And pretty much this whole process just repeats. Like, again, the fire breath, the half circle attacks, the full circles that you can CC. This is just going to keep repeating, and it's going to do the occasional time bombs as well. So pretty much what you're going to do is whittle it down to 70% so it can start the mechanics known as 2 and 3. As you see, we got a good enough DPS party right here. Like, we did some pretty good damage. Okay. Once it hits 70% for the first rotation, the boss is going to automatically jump in the middle of the arena. Right here, the boss is going to mark the furthest person away, which is what you want your marker to be. If a person calls the marker at 70%, that player needs to be the marker, which needs to be, at this point, the furthest player away from the boss. So it means everybody else goes towards the boss while the marker essentially goes away. As you see right there, the Lord of Flame is watching someone. This is when it marks the marker. So what you want to do as the marker, essentially, I'm not sure if I can show it right here since the boss is blocking it. Well, potentially first, if you're not going to be doing the marker, I would suggest that if you're going to be doing a roll or you're just DPS, I would stay behind the boss so that the explanation can be easier to understand. So as you can see, right now the marker is walking towards the boss and going to stop right in front of it. Right here is where the boss spawns 2 orbs next to its arms. This is where the cycle begins, where whoever was number 2, which essentially you can see the person into, I don't know if you can see it because the names are in the way, but there's a person on the left side taking the orb. And what he did right here was after he took the orb, he walked behind the marker and then stood behind him. The boss does like this clap, I guess, to them. I don't really know the like animation it does. All I know is that it does a clap and it essentially just brings in the stacks of the orbs to them. I guess I would say. But usually, not usually. Always after the clap, the boss will grab the marker and take a chump out of it, I guess. And then that's the end of the 2 phase. The boss then jumps to the tank, which is someone in the party. What you usually want is everyone to stay in the middle so that the boss can stay jumping towards the middle. And essentially it repeats again where the boss is going to once again watch someone. That's going to be the marker again, being the furthest one away. This time, this is the 3 phase of the cycle. So essentially both 3s, the 3-3 and the 3-9, is going to be taking both the orbs that the boss spawns next to its arms. Now essentially this is going to be explaining how it goes. Okay, remember when I said that it is best for this explanation to be thought about when you're behind the boss? So essentially what you want is you have to look at it as a clock, basically. You're basically a clock around the boss. The boss is the middle of the clock where the hands come out of, pointing into the clock and the times. You basically know you can picture a clock, basically, is what I mean. Essentially, when I said you want to be behind the boss, that puts you at 6 o'clock. And when the boss is looking at the marker, which is going to be straight ahead, that's 12 o'clock. So essentially, when the 3 phases are up, and remember when I said it's 3-3 and 3-9, this is the way you look at it. From behind the boss, since I picked 3-3, notice how I'm on the boss's right side. Because from behind the boss, it was at 6 o'clock. And when you look at a clock, rotating to the right side of the clock means you're going to 3 o'clock, which is 3-3. I'm basically roll 3 at 3 o'clock. And you look at it the same way with 3-9, where you're behind the boss and you're rotating to the left side of the boss. Which on the left side, if you rotate to the left side, it leads to 9 o'clock, which is roll 3, 9 o'clock. Hopefully that explains it. There's usually like another explanation with how the clock rotation works. It usually goes with the map, but I prefer using the boss as the clock and the way I just explained it to summarize the whole thing. So we're gonna go on with it. Like I said, I was 3-3, so I'm on the right side. I gathered the orb and moved behind the marker. and there's 3-9 right next to us as well. The boss grabs the marker, takes the chunk of damage. After this, the boss will do an AoE. You can just CC him. Since I'm a destroyer, pick up the boss. And right here, again, it goes into the the 2 phase is what I should say. Normally, the boss spawns an orb next to both of its arms. But on the 3rd rotation of the cycle, the boss does not spawn any orbs. So essentially, this was the 3-2-3 phase. So whoever was the 2 automatically goes behind the marker. So as you're probably not gonna see. You're probably gonna see a little bit of it, but the 2 is behind the marker. They do the clap, and I don't know for some reason why I guess the marker SS'd out of there. Like, he was supposed to get grabbed, but we still did a lot of damage regardless anyway. And usually after that is a AoE where you have to iframe it. Like, no CCing on that one. So pretty much it explained. After first rotation, I should say, nothing happens. After second rotation, the boss is going to do a full circle attack so you can CC him. And on the 3rd rotation, the boss does the AoE roar, so you iframe that. And that's the 1st phase, which is 2-3-2. Next thing you do is you, once again, whittle the boss down. It's going to do the same thing with the half circles, full circles, the time bombs. It's going to do all that the same way until you get to 30%. And that's going to begin the 2nd cycle of 2-3-2. 2 threes, I should say. Essentially, here I did not know what was going on. I thought the boss was going to jump into the middle, but it actually jumped into the furthest player, which means it's going for the time bomb stuff again. So as you see, I got the time bomb on me. I'm not in the middle. SS. Avoid the lava puddle. There's the 2nd one. And then the 3rd one. And then roar. Iframe it. And now the boss is jumping towards the middle. For the 2nd rotation, the 2nd cycle, the boss marks whoever is the closest. So this is the point where the marker needs to be the closest player to the boss. Everyone else backs away, furthest away from the boss, except for the marker. And this is where it begins, this is where it reverses the cycles. So from 70%, it was 2-3-2. On this one at 30%, it's 3-2-3. So there's the boss jumping into the middle, getting the marker. I'm walking to my side, which is 3-3. Okay, usually the marker, if the marker is like moving around a lot, like literally the boss will just stay watching it. So be careful if you're the marker and you're moving around the boss, because it can confuse players if the boss is like moving around. And essentially it does lead to the boss spawning orbs on like unorthodox positions, I should say. And it's not good. Like, you really don't want that. You want the orbs to stay on next to the arms. If they go on any other position, just hopefully you still get the stack and you can still do the mechanic. So as you see, I was lucky enough to still have the orb next to the arm. Walk behind the marker. We was actually lucky enough there because the other 3 was actually on a least seen side and it actually still formed a triangle. So essentially what you want to do is form a triangle, but it would have to be behind the marker. So I guess we got lucky since it was like a triangle just in a odd angle, I guess. So once again, the boss, I believe, took the marker and took more damage. Boss is gonna jump towards the tank and jump towards the middle again. Marks the closest person as well again. This is 2 this time. So whoever was 2 picks up the orb. This is what I mean. See how the orbs spawn behind and in front of the boss? That usually happens. It's not the end of the world when that happens, but it kind of does like mess with you when it does that. Now essentially, like, if it's still your position, just get the orb and, you know, make your way quickly behind the marker. In this case, I already did mine, which was 3, so I just stepped away from the orbs, because this is the 2 phase. Sadly, the 2 didn't make it behind the marker, so I think the 2 actually got killed. And then pretty much the boss grabbed the marker and then killed itself. And that's the boss fight. Essentially, we did enough damage that we just didn't finish the second cycle. It usually would go 3, 2, and 3 again. This time at the third rotation, the 3s don't have the spawned orb, so we just go behind the marker automatically. But, you know, this is exactly what I mean, that this joke of a boss is, like, ridiculously funny. Because it's essentially a boss that kills itself. Yeah. Now you see why I've claimed that this boss is a joke. Because it essentially is. And anyway, hopefully this explains the whole situation on the mechanics for Lord of the Flames. Like I said before, this boss is a joke. Like, you've seen it. We didn't even land the final blow into the boss. The boss killed itself. Like, that's essentially why I say the first boss is the easiest. Iron Juggernaut, not even hard. This boss is a joke. First boss is easily the hardest. Like I said, in my opinion. A lot of people can disagree with that, and that's fine. But I'm just letting you know, and I just hopefully showed you through this example how, like, pathetic Lord of the Flames is. So, thanks again for watching, guys. Hopefully, all 3 of these guides helped you make your DT runs much easier than what they used to if you didn't know what you were doing before. Leave a like if you did. If there was any information that I left out, please refrain from mentioning hard mode, because obviously this is going to be meant for people that need to try Desolate Tomb for the first time, actually doing the mechanics. So it's not really wise to start doing that on hard mode. But if there's any information that I did leave out, don't forget to just leave a comment and let me know. Like I said, I'm a little iffy on some of these information, so if there's anything wrong, I would take that into consideration. And hopefully these makes your DT runs much, much more better. This is Blaze. Enjoy your legendary necklace grind. Peace out.